Scott and Tess. Yeah, so this bill is expected to become law. It's heading to President Biden's desk. And in doing so, it would create a National Indian Family Services Center, a national organization that would provide help and training to tribes as well as other organizations. Senate-elect Gallego says that the stats show Native children face disproportionately high rates of abuse, and this was a bipartisan effort that started with legislation pushed through by the late Senator John McCain several years ago. So this bill does the following. It creates a National Indian Child Resource and Family Service Center to provide technical assistance and training to tribes, tribal organizations, as well as urban Indian organizations. It requires intergovernmental agreements between tribes and states to prevent, also to investigate, treat, and prosecute family violence. It also allows funding to be used for child protective services and encourages culturally appropriate treatment services and programs.
You could reach out to this national center and say, like, what are your best practices that we should try to incorporate here to stop child abuse, to identify child abuse, to keep families together, and to basically stop family violence. And, you know, this place is going to be the kind of the repository of best practices and ideas. So that way, it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, doesn't matter, you know, what indigenous community you're from, you're going to be able to call and talk to somebody there and be able to figure out what is some good practices to try to bring to your community that may work there.
So this bill also calls for $93 million in funding for these programs. The bill now heads to President Biden's desk. Representative Gallego was the chair of the House's Subcommittee for Indigenous People. We know now he is heading to the Senate in January. So what are his goals for Indian country as he moves into a different chamber of Congress? And how will the incoming Trump administration impact those issues? We'll have some of that coming up during our 8 o'clock hour. But you can hear my full conversation with Senator-elect Gallego on my podcast, Here Before, Here Now. That will be up on Monday. Very interesting to see the direction of how the conversation on Indian country has been recently, obviously with focus on the boarding school situation and also the missing and murdered Indigenous people crisis. So he's got more to say on that. We'll have that on my podcast on Monday.
Okay, yeah. All right.
About time. I think that's the consensus everywhere. Thank you so much, Colton. Time right now, 6:30.